Anime in the early 2000s can be summarized into three different categories. There's the canon story, filler, and anime movies, which by and large are usually one-off non-canon story that can loosely fit into the timeline of the show somewhere if you think about it hard enough. Just don't think about it too hard. But with the switch to seasonal anime in the modern industry, there has also been the switch to movies that are just straight up adapting arcs from the manga itself, which I think there is a place for, but I can't help but notice that in the past few years, with shows like Demon Slayer especially switching over to a movie-based format instead of being seasonal, I believe it can be seen as just a way to monetize something that could have otherwise been adapted into the seasonal format, and honestly probably would have been done better there, right? So in today's video, I want to tackle this topic by first speaking about the importance of non-canon anime movies, and then looking at where anime canon versus non-anime canon movies would work best. So with all the preamble out the way, let's get it done. I know that when it comes to talking about the importance of non-canon anime movies or just non-canon content in anime in general, people are very quick to dismiss it. But with movies, I think it's a bit harder to argue because there's one thing that's very hard to ignore, and it's the topic of Dragon Ball Z. And yes, when it comes to the topic of anime, all roads at some point or another do lead back to Dragon Ball Z. They easily have some of the most iconic movies in all of anime, and to this day, only one of them is actually canon to the manga. And before you get down in the comments, no Battle of Gods and Resurrection F aren't canon anymore. It's why they've been redoing them so many times in so many different mediums, whether it is the manga itself with its original retelling, or the anime where they retold it once and now they're retelling it again for a second time, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they go for a third time in the anime in the next 10 years if they could. But looking back at Dragon Ball Z, especially here in the West, you'd be hard pressed to find an anime fan who's been watching since the 90s or the early 2000s who hasn't seen one of these movies or just has a favorite among them. They have introduced some of the most iconic characters in the franchise to date, so much so that one of them eventually made it into the actual canon, this being Broly. The original Z Broly movie, regardless of its setup and how you felt about it, with the whole, the reason why Broly hates Goku is because he was crying when they were young or in the whatever pod, I don't really care how you feel about that, but has introduced a very iconic character in the anime space. So much so that he's actually transcended it and is often linked to being the inspiration for the word brolic, which is your, anime fact of the day. You can go Google that. That's an actual thing that will pop up if you Google that. This alone, I believe, is precedent for the importance of these movies. Honestly, I think these are very much more important than filler. They serve as small standalone pockets in the universe that can make the world feel more lived in. My Hero Academia is actually a very good example of this. Once again, similar to filler, these are done best when they add to the world itself. I will admit, for myself personally, at first, I was never really interested in the movies from the My Hero Academia franchise, but after getting bored one night and, saying what, I feel like watching some My Hero with All Might, with content that I haven't seen before. I was like, let me throw on some Two Heroes and give it a chance, and honestly, it did change my mind. It explored a portion of the past that the main story wouldn't have and didn't really have a chance to touch on, with All Might's history in North America. We've always gotten little sprinkles here or there. With Stars and Stripes, we got a little more, deep dive into that, but we were never gonna go back and actually see All Might in North America. It took characters that we otherwise never would have seen or interacted with and made them feel as if they were contributing to the main story. The thing I believe people always argue is that if it doesn't add to the main story, then it has no purpose being made in the first place. And honestly, I don't really think that's true. While I can agree that companies are quick to milk a franchise for all they can, I do believe there is a space for supplemental material that just serves to flesh out the universe at large. And another big thing it can do is give us time with these characters, or a period in time that the main story itself may have moved on too fast from. Going back to the Dragon Ball Z example, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is a stellar example of this, right? After the fight versus Cell, that version of Gohan is never seen again in the main story. As soon as we're done wrapping that arc up, we have a big time skip and we jump ahead. BoJack Unbound is another iconic Dragon Ball Z movie that has nothing to do with the canon, not canime. Actually, that'd be a pretty good term, like for canon anime, canime. I might actually trademark that one. But with the canon that people love so much, we get to spend some more time with Gohan as a child or a teen, however, you classify him back then, because how the games are different and whatever. And the Z Fighters shortly after Goku's death. Versus in the main story, we're given a time jump to where Gohan is pretty much given a soft reset to his arc. We really don't get to see how Gohan deals with the death of Goku immediately after it happens, other than the little that we did touch on and him accepting it and all that kind of stuff. And being the one that the world, this is the important part, being the one that the world now has to depend on when big threats come along. The point is, there is a place for non-canon content in anime, and after my We Need to Bring Filler Back video, great video, go check it out if you haven't, I will link it in the description down below. I do believe it's best done in a movie format. It doesn't take anything away from the main show itself or interrupt the storytelling flow, and most importantly, if you don't like it, you can just not watch it. You can ignore it. It should serve as a short, fun break away from the story, from the main story, that should make the world, again, feel more vibrant and lived in when done correctly. The only thing left to address, though, that could be the most important thing, is determining when a movie should be non-canon or canon. So before getting into this next portion of the video, I do want to take this time to say thank you guys so much for the support that you've been showing the channel. It's really been helping, especially on the last few videos. You guys are really helping me to make a long time dream of mine come true. So if you are enjoying the video, please consider leaving a like, a subscribe. It's free and it really does help out the channel and it motivates me. We're almost at 1,800 subs currently, trying to hit 2,000 by the end of the month. So, if you've been enjoying the content that I've been putting out, why not? But now, let's get back to it. So my biggest fear with anime canon movies is that they will become the norm, in the sense that anytime there is a big fight or a monumentous moment that occurs in the manga, whether or not it would fit better as being episodic, they'll make it a movie just for the fact that they know people will go and see it, and solely seeing it as a way to make a profit. And look, I understand that at the end of the day, these animation companies are still companies, so yes, they need to turn a profit. But the thing is, that profit's not necessarily going to the animators themselves, because there's anime execs, and we've seen already that these anime execs are willing to work these animators to the bone. No extra pay, no overtime, and all that kind of stuff. We saw this with JJK season 2 and how all of that was handled. And at the end of the day, this money that's made is going to go to the anime execs themselves, because why? They're the higher ups, man. They're doing it for the money. They're the business guys. The business guys always make the money. All that kind of stuff. But the Gojo vs Sukuna fight is one that I fear will be turned into a movie, not only because they know it will sell, but because people online have been very vocal about wanting it. And with this request, I'm realizing that people are missing what made that Gojo vs Sukuna fight so special, bro. Other than the fact that it was something that was being built up to over the course of the series, and it's the culmination of one of the biggest questions in modern anime of who's stronger between Gojo, the strongest sorcerer of the modern day, versus Sukuna, the strongest sorcerer in history. Basically, who punch harder, who punch better. That's literally it. A lot of fights and a lot of hype moments in anime can be boiled down to who punch harder, if we're being honest. But I love that shit and never gonna get tired of it. But the thing that makes that fight so special was the cliffhangers that we were left on pretty much every single week. Reading the back and forth between these two titans weekly generated a perpetual motion of hype every single week. You genuinely felt like if you weren't reading it weekly, you were missing out on something. And why or how would I know this? Because I was literally there when it happened. This is what inspired me to pick up the JJK manga. I was determined not to be spoiled on what I had no doubt would be in one of the most iconic moments in anime history, bro. I realized what it was and I was like, dude, this is gonna be a moment to remember. Everyone who's into JJK or into manga who's into JJK is gonna know what they were doing when the Gojo vs Sukuna fight was happening, bro. It's low-key, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not trying to glaze too much. It might be the Goku vs Frieza of modern anime when it does get adapted into the anime. But in the manga, as of now, like, it's hype, bro. Like, that literally generated so much hype, and it was just the manga itself, which does show just how far anime and manga in general has come, right? Anime viewers, I believe, deserve this same hype. The discussions and theories only of who would win really brought the community together. Of course, now we pretty much all know how it plays out, but for those who don't, they deserve this. They deserve a chance to experience some semblance of it, right? And I believe a movie should be anime canon when it isn't necessarily long enough to carry its own season. Like, an arc in the manga itself is not long enough to carry its own season, right? Look at the Mugen Train arc, for example, from Demon Slayer, right? In the manga, the arc was only 13 episodes, and in the anime, 13 chapters, not episodes, sorry. And in the anime, it would have been 7 episodes, and that's with the addition of some filler. And then the other 6 episodes was just them chopping up the movie and giving it back to you guys. Which again, leads me to my next topic. If the arc of a manga is done in the movie format, stop cutting it up or reanimating it to be done within the anime. This makes it feel like even more of a cash grab than anything else. I understand if you see it through the lens of, oh, what about people who come along later to watch the anime and maybe they're watching it and like that part's just magically missing, right? I promise you, if they actually care enough to watch the anime and digest the full story, they will go and watch the movie. They will find the movie. They'll probably research the movie, right? Also, to remedy this, you can literally just add a disclaimer at the end, go watch this next arc in this format before continuing. This is where the next arc occurs, right? I promise you, these companies aren't retelling the same story they just made you pay for in theaters because they want future watchers of the show to not have to go watch the movie somewhere else, right? Tokyo Ghoul is a great example of this. You are literally encouraged to watch season 1, read the manga for the next arc. They said don't even pay attention to season 2. I'm pretty sure this was an ad at some point. Then return to the anime for seasons 3 and 4 for Tokyo Ghoul Re. So they do not care, bro. That's not why they're doing it. But non-canon anime movies have been a staple of the medium for decades at this point. And I think even more with the move towards seasonal anime that there is a place for them, right? Seeing our characters have a break from the story was always a refreshing thing to see. It also serves as a pocket in time for both the anime and its characters. I've been caught up to One Piece's manga for a very long time, probably like 2 years, a lot of years at this point. And it's very refreshing to go back and watch those old movies because I haven't, gotten to watch to get the nostalgia feeling from a new story, right? Going back and seeing how Luffy and the gang were back then, man, it's so good. Going back and seeing Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, it was good pre-time skip, but that's the video. As usual, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you made it this far into the video, you did enjoy. Let's be honest here, So please consider leaving a like, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Do you think we should bring back non-canon anime movies, or should they all be adapted from the manga itself? Let me know down below. I respond to every single comment, but I love you guys and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.